What a way to ring in the holidays. I'm John Retton with the retro review of WCW Nitro from Christmas of 1995. This was actually recorded right after the December 18th edition, you can tell, because the crowd really looked similar. Very, very similar. They were all in the same clothes. It's almost like they decided to tape this, which actually was a pretty damn good idea, because that way they gave the talents and the staff the holidays off, and then they could have Starrcade on a Wednesday. Very odd day for a pay-per-view, but they couldn't have it on the weekend because that was New Year's Eve, and they didn't want to fucking, risk the fact of not that many people watching because they'd be out there partying. So, nice go-home edition for Starrcade 95, including the hook in the main event of who would win the triangle match and who would face Randy Savage for the World Championship. So, Christmas edition, all the Christmas holiday cheer around, and we start off with Lex Luger versus Scotty Riggs. Scotty Riggs out for revenge after Lex Luger took out his tag team partner last week, Marcus Alexander Bagwell, and together they comprise the American Males, American Males, American Males, American Males. I'm going to keep doing that for the occasional Nitro, shows that I do until, the American Males, okay, that's enough, break up. And this wasn't bad. Lex got the rack for the win. And then Mean Gene interviews Sting about his friendship with Luger and Starrcade 95 in 2 days. But, hey, at least it was a nice hook, and it was Sting like, oh, he's not going to let his friendship get in the way. He's going to win the World Championship. Then we have Big Bubba Rogers versus Sting. One thing that always bothered me about these early Nitros is they would have these guys come out for interviews before their matches, and then would have them go back and make their big entrance. Instead of wasting the pyro, why don't you just have them go to the ring, and then their opponents there, you save some time, you can put a couple more minutes towards the matches. It just seemed like a waste of production values. And that goes for WWE and WCW. But anyway, it was alright. It wasn't dull, I will give it that much. And Sting catches Big Bubba with an inside cradle off the ropes. 1, 2, 3. And then Mean Gene interviews Lex and Jimmy Hart. Because, having Lex Luger talk is a really good idea. And Craig Pittman shows up to ask Jimmy Hart to manage him. And he says, well, take your shirt off. Look at Lex Luger. Look at you. Now, Craig Pittman was in great shape. He was. But he says, why don't you take this quarter and call somebody that needs a few good men? Because military jokes, that's always good. But Jimmy Hart really was absolutely fucking maniacal. As maniacal as he could be allowed to be in the 90s. Not nearly as maniacal as he was in Memphis. As one of the few bright spots in Memphis television, Jimmy Hart just being absolutely insane. And, man, people wanted to see him get his ass kicked. Anyway, we get Dean Malenko versus JL. So Bischoff then announces that Hogan is suspended at least until the end of 1995. So like 2 goddamn weeks. He hasn't gone very long because he's back by early 96. And then I want to say sometime after Uncensored 96, he went off to film a movie. And that's why we didn't get to see him nearly as much until the whole Bash at the Beach thing. And I want to say right now, for those who may have missed it in the last retro review that I did, the one just before this, Nitro, I'm probably not going to be reviewing every single 1996 Nitro. I simply don't have the time. I got a lot of other projects I'm going to be doing, and I also want to ease back a little bit. I will be doing the WCW 2001 shows, Nitro, Thunder, pay-per-views, for the first few months since the company went under in March of 2001. So I am sorry about that. I may do the pay-per-views, but I'm just not going to be doing weekly Nitros. As fun as it is, I ain't got the time. And I'm kind of suffering some burnout. I hope you guys understand. But anyway, Dean Malenko versus JL, certainly not a bad match. It was actually pretty goddamn fine. There was a gutbuster off the ropes. That looked fucking deadly. You can tell how Dean did it, but it looked really fucking deadly. And then eventually hit the leg lock, got the victory, got the tap out. That was some good stuff. And Mean Gene then interviews Ric Flair, facing Savage at Starrcade 95. Jimmy Hart comes down and says, I owe you one. I apologize for what Kevin Sullivan did. You saved my ass a couple weeks ago. I want to be down there when you beat Randy Savage for the world title tonight. So, he does just that. Ric Flair making his entrance again. Again, you could have put a couple more minutes towards the match, but the match was fine for the World Heavyweight Championship. These two always work well together. Had some great matches earlier in 95, including the lifeguard match, the one at, Bash at the Beach, 1995, where Bobby Heenan said about, Angelo Poffo. His father's been here all day. His cane's been stuck in the sand. He's been going in a circle. Because Bobby Heenan, even though he didn't give a fuck in WCW, was always goddamn great. Savage got sent to the guardrail some before the break and then after the break. And Flair then grounds him down. We get a figure 4, but Savage fights out of it. Hart gets knocked down. Lex Luger runs down. Don't you hurt my buddy! And then attacks Savage, causing a DQ. Then Sting comes down. and that's the melee that hypes up the triangle match, and then who will face Randy Savage. Spoiler, it's Ric Flair, and Ric Flair beats him because we can't allow Randy Savage to have a long world title run. But anyway, not a bad episode of Nitro. Very expedient. Starrcade 1995 Retro Review will be up within the next few days. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.